The court had everything it needed. He was caught in the act of dealing, his DNA was all over the drugs. It should have been an open and shut case. Except for one thing. There were two Mr. Rajas. Sathis and Sabarish were identical twins, so both were hauled into court.
In his late teens, though, Pablo got caught in the act of stealing one of these cars. He ended up spending several months in La Ladera jail, which was to him a very positive life experience.
Group of statues the Kids and Beavers find were originally caught in the act by the witch celebrating Christmas. The scene of her executing someone via petrification was used on the fox character I'll talk about in just a second. There was a bit more dilly-dallying around inside the witch's castle in the book, and a rather strange scene where a good-natured and very polite giant breaks down the door to help people escape and is super into the handkerchief that Lucy gives him to mop his brow.
I think we go to John chapter 8. There's this woman with a reputation in Jerusalem. Kind of a checkered past, you know what I mean? And Jesus is teaching in the temple, and these religious leaders decide, we want to figure out a way to trip Jesus up. So they go, we know this girl. And they set her up. And they go and they catch her in the act of adultery. And they burst in the room and they grab her. Can you imagine? She's terrified. And they drag her through the streets of Jerusalem, probably half naked, probably screaming at the top of her lungs. Why? Because she knows, according to Mosaic law, adulterers can be stoned. She thinks she is dead. She thinks they're going to kill her. And they drag her through the streets of Jerusalem towards the temple, and then up every step of the temple. She's kicking and screaming and crying, and you know Jesus could hear her. And they take this terrified woman before Jesus, and they say, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. According to Moses, she should be stoned. What do you say? And Jesus knelt down, and he began to write in the dirt, you guys are a bunch of losers. I mean, he underlined it. We don't know what Jesus wrote. I kind of hope it was something like that. But we do know what he said. And he said this, let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. And one by one, they backed away. One by one, they turned and left. And this terrified woman who thought she was as good as dead is left there alone with Jesus. And he says this, woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, sir, she said. Then neither do I condemn you. Go now and leave your life of sin. If you want to know what it looks like for Jesus to fulfill the law and the prophets, that's what it looks like. Where there was condemnation, there is life. And there is clarity. And there is his authority over all of Scripture. We can trust the story because it leads us step by step to Jesus.